plan your first backpacking trip? That's what we're going to talk about today, guys. So, the first thing you need to do when you plan your backpacking trip is to plan out the logistics of it. So, the first thing you're going to do is decide where you're going to go. Print out a map, go to the trailhead, whatever, take a picture of it. You can use resources like AllTrails, Gaia is another one, and CalTopo, which will give you a lot more of the topographics of, and it's a lot more customizable. The next thing you need to figure out is if you're gonna need permits. So some places require you to have like a campfire permit or an entry point permit. Those are generally for national parks, but it's a good thing to check out wherever you're going. The next thing you're gonna decide on is how many days are you gonna go? Do you want to go for a weekend, an overnighter, a week long? David and I do a lot of 3 days because we like to hike in, make a base camp, do a little day hiking, and then hike out the last day, and that works for us. The next thing you need to decide on is how far are you going? So even if you're an avid trail runner, you think you got this, it is a lot different with a pack on your back. And I cannot stress this enough. I took a friend out there that was like, yeah, I got it. We're gonna do 8 miles. And she was like, that's nothing. I run that all the time. And she was dying around mile 6 probably. But just go easy on yourself. Do just a couple miles, no more than 10. Just no more than 10. Once you finish planning all of your logistics and stuff, finalize your map, and then one of the most important things is before you head out on the trail is to leave a copy of your map with someone. So that movie 127 Hours or whatever it is a real thing. Don't be that guy. So typically I will leave a map with my mom because she cares if I show up when I say I'm going to. I always put on there where my car is parked, the trail that I plan on taking, and where I plan on camping for the night. And those are just a couple of the things that I add in my map. So the next thing you need to worry about is your gear. We're going to have another video of all of the gear that we take. So if you want to check out the other video, we will leave a link in the description below. For your gear, you need to first decide on a budget. Gear can get extremely expensive. I can't even fathom the amount I have spent and the amount of other people have spent. I'm all about getting things the cheap or free way. So there are a lot of different options. You can rent gear. Big outdoor outfitters will rent gear out to people. You can always borrow it from a friend, or check garage sales, things like that. And there's a lot of different options to get gear, and you don't need to go for the fanciest your first time out. Don't skimp on your 3 big ones. Your pack, your sleep system, and your shelter are the most important. And so those are ones that I would splurge a little bit. The next thing you need to worry about gear is where you're going and what the weather is going to be like. So it'll differ depending on if it's raining or if it's sunny outside. Some important things to remember are to bring your stove, your headlamp, and bug spray, because even if you don't get eaten at home, you'll probably get eaten out there. The last thing about your gear is to always kind of just keep in the back of your head that weight equals pain. We do a whole nother video on this. If you want to check it out, we will have a link in the description below. Your clothing. So you want to have synthetic clothing. And the guy that taught me how to go backpacking the very first time showed me his dirty underwear, and I will save you guys from that trauma. But you want synthetic clothing, particularly your undergarments, because it reduces friction and it dries a lot faster. The next thing that you want to worry about is test your gear at home. One of the most beautiful pieces of advice I ever heard of was, if you don't know how to use it, you shouldn't bring it. This goes for your sleep setup, this goes for your first aid kit, anything like that. Make sure that you test everything at home, because there's a lot of extra items that come into when you buy a tent or when you buy a sleeping bag that you just don't need to bring with you. So go through it, hang it up, do whatever, and just test it out when you first get it. The reason it's so important is because when you come into camp, if you come in the dark or whatever, you don't want to be learning how to hang your hammock the very first day in the dark with a bunch of stuff, and you're just not going to have a good time. The next thing you need to do is train. And the best way to train is go out and hike. Nothing will simulate backpacking like hiking. And if you can go out there with a pack on your back and put some weight in it, more power to you. You know, this is just the best way to train. The next thing, and I will have a whole nother video on this coming up, and I will put a link in the description below, is your food. So you want really high calorie, compact food. Things that you can cook really quickly or that don't even need to be cooked are the best, and things that you only want to add water to it. Please do not be like a dear friend of mine and bring cans of beans on your backpacking trip, because you will hate yourself later. Here is a picture from my last backpacking trip. This is 3 days worth of food. The last thing that we're going to go over is, you know, once you are out there, one of the most important things is leave no trace. It's basically be nice to Mother Nature. You know, you're out there to enjoy it, and other people want to enjoy it as well. So one of the biggest things that I take to heart is leave it better than you found it. So David and I always pick up trash when we're out there, anytime we're out there, not just on backpacking trips. Hike out what you hike in, which kind of goes with the whole leave it nicer than you found it. Anything that shouldn't be out there, shouldn't be out there. So, you know, pack it back with you. This includes toilet paper, which I absolutely despise, but what can you do? Bury your poop is another important one. You want to dig a hole 6 inches deep, 6 inches wide. Just make sure nobody wants to see it. I always stick a little stick or put a rock on top of it after I'm done, just so that nobody else digs it up as well, and also so that animals don't as well. There are many other things that are involved with your very first backpacking trip. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you like what you heard, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you out there. I had an idea. Oh, I did have an idea. Ready? Ready?